I'm joined by Mr. Paul Nuttall, MEP, who's standing in the by-election for UKIP in the Stoke Central constituency. Paul, thank you very much for joining me.
Hi, good morning.
Welcome to Burslem, may I add.
Thank you.
You've had a busy morning, I'm gathering.
Yes, very busy morning. Met with the British Ceramics Confederation, had a very productive meeting, found out some of the issues that they have surrounding EU legislation and how we're going to deal with Brexit in this area, particularly within that sector. So yeah, really productive meeting and shot over here.
Thank you. Like I said, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Pleasure.
Let's get into the question. We have had a couple of questions from the listeners as well, and we will kind of drop them in throughout the interview. First question, which I think, it's a very standard question. What are you going to do for Stoke Central if you are elected?
Well, what Stoke Central needs is a national voice. It's desperate. Many people feel, and we get this on the doorsteps, talking to people as if they've been left behind, as if people sort of fly past Stoke-on-Trent on the M6 and generally don't stop. There's been a lack of investment over many years, and what people are crying out for is change. And what I can do and what I can offer, none of the other candidates can, is a national voice, someone who will be heard. When I stand up in the House of Commons, people will listen. I'm a national party leader, and I genuinely believe if I'm elected, I can make real change and I can put Stoke-on-Trent Central on the political map.
If you are elected, whose interests have you got best at heart? Is it the people of Stoke, or as you mentioned, you are the leader of a national party? Do you go in with the intention of the party first and then your constituents?
No, because if you're elected to a seat, obviously your constituents are your boss, and you are their tool really at Westminster, and they always have to come first. The interests of the voters and the constituents, it doesn't matter which way they vote, always have to be put to the top of the list. Of course, I will put party interest in there as well. I am a national party leader. I do have a national voice. You probably see me regularly on TV and hear me on radio and things like that, and it all buys into my narrative. Hang on one second. Buys into my narrative that I can really put Stoke-on-Trent Central on the map. Do
you not think that you get the national coverage that you do though because of your views and because of your party's views, not necessarily because because you're talking for the people, because you have views which are out there? Is that not the reason that you do get your national coverage?
Well, I think all party leaders, regardless of what colour, regardless of what party, all get national coverage anyway. I don't think our views are any different or out there, as you said. Our views are the common sense views. I mean, you hear them on the doorsteps every single day. Maybe they aren't the views of the establishment and the Westminster bubble, but they're certainly the views of people.
If you heard them on the doorsteps every single day, would UKIP have more than one member of Parliament?
Well, that is really because of an anomaly in our electoral system. It cannot be right that a political party gets 4 million votes at a general election and only rolls in with one seat when, our vote at the last general election was double the Scottish National Party and the Liberal Democrats put together. Yet they roll in with around 70 seats and we get one. And it can't be right that around 800,000 people in this country who live in swing constituencies that generally swing between Labour and Tory at each election decide the outcome of the general election and create the government. That cannot be right, it cannot be fair. We need electoral reform, we need some sort of proportional representation whereby every vote matters. Now, as for UKIP, we've got one seat at the moment. Douglas Carswell is our MP in Clacton, and we hope to double that on February the 23rd.
Your campaign has been heavily around Brexit because you said yourself, Stoke-on-Trent is the Brexit capital of the United Kingdom. Is you standing in this by-election a case of political opportunism, or do you have the interests of Stoke-on-Trent at heart? What made you go, Stoke-on-Trent's available, I'm gonna, somebody stepped down for you to run in this election?
Yeah, you said over there.
How can we think this is the man that's going to speak for us?
Well, because what's the other option? This seat has had a Labour MP since 1950, and there's only two parties who are in this race. Let's make that perfectly clear. You're either going to get a Labour MP or you're going to get a UKIP MP, right? You've had a Labour MP since 1950. You know, Einstein's theory of insanity is going out and doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. If you go out and vote Labour, things aren't going to change. It will be the same. It will be a voice in the wilderness. Okay, I do have the interests of the people at heart, and I do want to ensure that that Brexit vote on June the 23rd is upheld. You know, and where people went out en masse in this constituency and across Stoke-on-Trent in general and voted for was real Brexit, a clean Brexit, a Brexit outside the single market whereby we control our borders, sign our own trade deals, don't pay money into the EU, don't comply with EU regulations and directives. And what we need is the government to get on with it, not prevaricate, not mess around with it like the Labour Party seem to want us to do. And we'll see how that vote goes on tonight, because there's the big vote on triggering Article 50 in the House of Commons. You know, if you want real Brexit, then what you do is you put the only Brexiteer in this election in the House of Commons as your representative.
What are the benefits of Brexit for Stoke-on-Trent then? You're so heavily pushing that is the reason why you're standing. You are the voice of Brexit for Stoke-on-Trent.
Yes.
What are the benefits of Brexit for Stoke Central?
Oh, there's loads. I mean,
any specifics?
Well, we've met this morning with the British Ceramic Confederation, and they know that there is now a big world out there. There are now great opportunities. When Britain starts to sign free trade deals right across the globe, they will benefit. More jobs can come into the area. Our economy, not just for Stoke, but the economy as a whole, has the opportunity to boom in a way that it hasn't done for many, many years. Brexit not only will benefit the economy, but it will allow us to control our own borders, and it will save money. You know, what I want to see is us saving that £55 million a day that we have paid into the European Union, and what we've got to do then is to pressure the government to ensure that all of that money isn't just spent in London, it's spread out right across the country. Because one of the problems that we've got, and one of the problems that Stoke-on-Trent has had for many years, is there's a clear lack of investment. And I'll give you the figure, right? I'll give you the figure which might astound your listeners. You know, in London, they get spent £5,000 per head on infrastructure. In the West Midlands, it's less than £500 per head. What you need is someone in the House of Commons who will be a champion, who will stand up, say, that's not good enough, let's get investment into
Do you have enough allies in the Houses of Parliament, though? You've only got one, as I mentioned before, you've only got one other UKIP party member in the House of Parliament. Do you have enough allies to see through with these promises? We've seen promises from the Brexit campaigns from Mr Farage, who you know quite well. We've seen it on the side of buses about the money going to the NHS with these promises, and then as soon as the powers, or as soon as the people who are going to be the voice of the people get questioned about these figures, they seem to backtrack quite a lot. Are we going to see a lot of backtracking, like your your friend Mr Farage from the? I'm talking specifically about the NHS.
£350 million paid to the NHS.
You mentioned funds. Then you said that it's going to come into Stoke. Well, you want it to. Is this going to be back? Is this just talk?
Well, actually, it'll put more money in people's pockets, because you know at the moment, for every £4 that Staffordshire puts into the EU, it only gets £1 back. So you know when you walk around and you see buildings that say this project was built with EU money, this project was built with EU funding, it's no such thing. It's actually our own money, which goes out to Brussels, and in the case of Staffordshire, you only get a quarter back. That is the economics of the matter.
It does go to Brussels, and it also pays the wages of the European Union
members.
Yeah, of which you are.
Well, actually, put it this way, right? If there wasn't UKIP MEPs, right, you would never have found out exactly what goes on out there. You would never have found out about the waste. You would never found out about the undemocratic nature of that place, because we went out there for the first time in 1999 in small numbers, and those numbers grew and grew and grew to the point whereby we won the European elections in 2014, and we've acted as the eyes and the ears of the British people, and we've fed stories.
Isn't your attendance 43%?
Yes, it is.
Isn't, I mean,
I tell you what,
how can you have a say in the 43%?
I'll tell you what, because I was elected with a mandate to push for Brexit, to get this country out, to spread the message, okay? Now, my attendance might only be 43%. Now, by the way, that was in the last term. That was between 2009 and 2014.
Regardless of what it was, that 43% is 43%.
This is a key point, right?
Okay.
Oh, no, that is my attendance. That is the amount of times I voted, okay? Not my attendance, right? Let's put this way. That is a parliament in Brussels, which I don't believe in, right? I want to get Britain out of the European Union. I want to get Britain out of the European Parliament. for good, and that's going to happen. Jeremy Corbyn has an attendance record of 51% in the House of Commons. He can cycle to work. It's round the corner in a parliament that he wants to be in, right? He wants to be an MP and he wants to represent his constituents. So if anyone throws that one at me, then I tell you what, they're on shaky ground, especially if they're from the Labour Party.
Fair enough. Let's go back to the local views then. The people of Stoke-on-Trent have I would say, a vested interest in the NHS. The NHS is a big part of, we've got a very older population who are sometimes reliant on the free healthcare. In the past, you have... you've spoken about your views on the NHS, and that is flipped between a couple of ideals depending on who you get asked by, it seems. What are your views of the NHS today?
Firstly, Stoke has, it has one of the lowest life expectancies in the country. Okay, I think where I'm from, Bootle has the lowest life expectancy in England, actually. Look, it's clear. I spoke in the past. I was talking about more competitiveness within the NHS. I did a hustings back in January 2011 where I spoke about the need to bring in companies to buy on behalf of the NHS, because in the area of procurement, the NHS is sometimes paying 30 times over the odds for certain drugs. But I also talked, in certain sectors, competitiveness works, okay? Because you look at bringing in companies who can compete against each other, and it generally drives quality. In the NHS, this has been tried and it's failed. Labour privatised about 5% of the NHS, the coalition government about 8.5% of the NHS. And has it got better? It hasn't really at all.
So what are you going to do for people of Stoke-on-Trent with their views of the NHS?
Hang on, I'll come on to that if you just give me 1 second. Things haven't improved. In fact, it's like Groundhog Day. I could write next January's headlines now. It's going to be NHS in crisis. And in particular, in this seat, it's a complete shambles. Because you had a Labour government that signed us up to the PFI deal, particularly in this. I'll give you the figures. It cost £415 million to build a hospital. It's going to cost over £2 billion to repay the debt. It cost £58 million last year alone for the Trust to pay off the annual debt. What we need is a cash injection into the NHS, a quick cash injection. There isn't enough beds. Social care and healthcare need to be integrated. The workers at the hospital are basically depressed, they're anxious. They're spending on average 15 days a year off work, which is costing the Trust £44 million every single year. It needs that cash injection, and we're the only party who can say where that cash injection would come from. We'd slash a foreign aid budget, which is costing the British people £30 million a day at this present moment in time.
Let's go back to the local questions. We've had one question from Mr. Andrew Smith, who lives in your constituency. And this is about just general problems. What are you going to do about tackling antisocial behaviour and drug problems which are rife in the constituency?
They are rife in the constituency, and crime has actually gone up within the constituency. I want to make it clear that under my leadership, UKIP will be the party of law and order, and we will push to ensure that there is more bobbies on the beat, real bobbies on the beat in local communities, working with local people, and down the line, if you ever had a UKIP government, I have made it perfectly clear that I want sentences to mean what they say. I want clear deterrence in society. That if you, for example, go down for 3 years, you serve 3 years. For example, there is a massive drug problem. Well, I would say it's massive, but it's there. Okay, there's a drug problem within the local community. We need to ensure that these people are getting help. We need to ensure that money is ploughed in to these sectors to ensure that we're getting these people off the streets.
One final question, which is coming from many, many people following one of your interviews on a BBC radio station. As a potential Member of Parliament for Stoke Central, can you name all 6 towns of Stoke-on-Trent?
Well, considering that there's 6 towns radio, yes, I should think so. Of course, there is Burslem, there is Longton, there is Stoke, there is Hanley, there is Fenton. Is that 6?
That's 5.
That's 5?
Yep.
And I'm missing. Which one am I missing right now?
It's all right. I can give you a couple of seconds. Do you want me to tell you?
Longton, I've said Longton, haven't I?
Yeah.
You missed. Yeah, hang on. Burslem.
Yep.
Yeah. Fenton.
Yep.
Hanley.
Mhm.
Longton.
Yep.
Stoke-on-Trent.
Just Stoke.
Stoke-upon-Trent. And
It's Tunstall.
Yeah, Tunstall.
Well helped by the gentleman to
Tunstall,
your right
of
there.
course.
Thank you very much, Paul, for calling in.
Tunstall,
The by-election is February the 23rd. We're going to get more of the candidates in. For now, though, thank you very much, Paul Nuttall.
Okay.